This is exactly how you lose belly fat the smartest and easiest way. Hope you're having a good day. I'm Alex and I've been coaching clients to do this for over a decade now, and these are the 5 steps that we use with Dylan, Irvin, Steph, Reese, Tom, Braden, Sam, Ellie, and many others. I show this at the start to prove that it actually works, and not just on people like myself that are in the fitness industry, but just everyday people that enjoy going to the gym. So let's cover the 5 points that you need to follow and understand to achieve this. Starting with number 1, calorie deficit. Now, often this is highly overcomplicated, but it really doesn't need to be. It just means to lose body fat, we need to be consuming less calories than we're burning on a daily basis. Now, there's 2 easy ways to do this. They both involve knowing how many calories you consume on a daily basis, because without this, it's like throwing a dart in the dark and just hoping you hit the board. But if you're tracking your calories and your macros and you know how much food you're consuming on a daily basis, it's literally like a cheat code to throw the dart and hit the bullseye every single time. So the first way is to simply track your calories and macros on a daily basis with a calorie tracking app like MyFitnessPal, or literally any app that you want. You can simply scan the barcode of the food you are eating, or you can enter the food manually to search for it. Then you just simply weigh out the food and adjust the measurements on your app to get the exact amount. The second way is making your own meal plan. To be honest, this is what I personally prefer, and pretty much you just use that same method of the calorie tracking app, but you just simply track your calories and the food you eat for 1 day or maybe 2, and then you just follow those on repeat. The reason I like this is because it only requires you to use the app for 1 day or 2, or however many meal plans you want to follow. Let's say you build 2 or 3 out, and then you don't have to use the calorie tracking app again, because it does get a little bit tedious using it over and over again if you're just having different food all the time. And to be honest, it is a lot easier if you eat similar things ongoing as well. So you basically just do that, and then once you feel yourself starting to get a little bit bored of certain foods, just swap those out and put new ones in with the calorie tracking app. Or once you get bored of your entire day of eating, just simply swap it and just write a new one. And if you have no idea of how many calories or like what macros you should be consuming on a daily basis to get started for this goal, honestly, the simplest and easiest and fastest way is to just use an online macro calculator. They're free. I actually have one that's free as well. I'll put it in the description for you, but you can use any one that you like. This will give you a really good starting point. It's never going to be spot on accurate, but nothing you do will be spot on accurate anyway. So it'll give you a nice starting point. You can start there, track your progress, and then you can adjust as needed. So now you've got your starting calories and your macros. Now with the actual macros, don't like stress over protein, carbs, and fats. You really just want to focus on your total daily calories and your total daily protein intake. Just let your carbs and fats kind of do what they want, because it's just the easiest way to do it, and they don't make a massive difference to your fat loss goals. Sweet, so now you've got your starting calories, your starting macros, or at least your starting protein target. You can simply use one of the 2 options we just went through, or a combination of both if you want, and we're good to go. Which does lead me to number 2, which is your protein intake. Again, this can be highly overcomplicated, and I see some people really obsessing over the exact gram that their protein needs to be, but honestly, it doesn't need to be this complicated. To get great fat loss results where you're actually maintaining or maybe even building some more muscle while you're losing fat at the same time, you simply just need to eat in between 1.7 to 2 grams per kilogram of your body weight on a daily basis. So for example, if I weigh 80 kilograms, then I would need about 136 grams to 160 grams of protein per day. Now, to be 100% honest with you, if you want to get great results and you want to feel fuller and just maintain and grow more muscle, I would steer away from the lower end, because if I ate 136 grams of protein per day, I know for a fact, number 1, I'd be hungry because protein is the most satiating food. Number 2, I probably wouldn't recover that well. So I would go closer to the 2 grams per kg of body weight. So I would personally be aiming for 160 grams per day if I weighed 80 kilograms. Now, if you go over the 2 grams per kilogram, you also don't need to stress about it. It's not going to destroy your kidneys. It's not going to do anything bad. It's just pretty much, you're just having more protein where you could allocate those calories to carbs or fats, but it's honestly a little bit of personal preference. For me, I actually like to go over 2 grams because it helps keep me full, and I personally just enjoy having high protein meals. Now, the reason that you actually want to have your protein intake high is for a few things. The first is it supports muscle growth. So if you lose weight and don't eat enough protein, you end up with that skinny fat look that you just don't want. Number 2 is it supports recovery. Number 3 is it has the highest thermic effect of food. Now, basically all this means is your body burns more calories digesting protein than anything else. And number 4 is it's usually the most satiating macronutrient, which pretty much just means eating protein helps keep you more full than if you were eating carbs or fats. As you can see, it's pretty important. Now, if you're thinking that's quite a lot of protein, if you struggle to hit your protein intake, we personally find with clients, there's 2 main reasons. The first reason being is you've just been told, or you're just unaware of like what high protein foods actually are. So you can screenshot this simple protein cheat sheet. Of course, that's not everything on there, but that's a good guide to get you started. But you also might be thinking things like peanut butter and nuts, for example, are high in protein when they're actually not. For example, 100 grams of nuts has about 607 calories and only 20 grams of protein, compared compared to if you were to get 20 grams of protein from a whey protein powder, for example, it would only be about 100 calories. So you're getting the same amount of protein, but you're saving 507 calories, which is an entire daily deficit. And the second common mistake is simply not understanding smart marketing. So this protein cookie right here is marketed heavily, and there's a lot of these out there, towards high protein, whole food cookie, that type of stuff, but it only has 16 grams of protein for the entire cookie. And with that 16 grams of protein, you also get 460 calories come along for the ride. Now, to put that into comparison for you, a Macca's cheeseburger, which let's be honest, you probably don't want to be eating when dieting, has less calories, more protein. The only difference being they're marketed completely differently. Obviously, Macca's isn't marketing that to be healthy and high protein, low calorie, you should eat this for fat loss, but things down the health aisle, like this protein cookie, that's all they're doing. The moral of the story is with that one, if you're never reaching your protein goal, you simply need to find foods that have a better protein to calorie ratio. Number 3, the importance of weight training. Now I'm gonna keep this one so simple. If you don't resistance train in some form, AKA lift weights, or at least do some body weight training, something against resistance where you're putting your muscles under tension and taking them close to failure, you will not be able to build muscle at all. And the chances of even maintaining the muscle you do have when you're losing body fat in this calorie deficit is pretty much slim to none. And this is basically how people lose a bunch of weight on the scale. They do lose body fat, of course, but they also lose the muscle that they do have, and then they get that skinny fat look that they don't want, and they can't really understand why. So all you really need to do is be weight training on a consistent basis. Now, in my personal opinion, you want to be weight training at least 3 to 6 times per week, and then just simply make sure to try and progress every single week, or at least every single month, by either lifting a little bit more weight, trying to get an extra rep or two, improving your form or technique, or just doing more working sets, or even an extra session. Honestly, that's all you need to do to get started, and that's like 80% of the weight training covered. And if you want a free program to try, I'll also pop one in the description for you as well. There's a 5-day male and female option for you in there. Step number 4 is sleep. Now, I know sleep, not the most sexiest thing to talk about, but honestly, you should think of sleep as almost like a natural steroid to everything we've just gone through. Meaning that if you just did everything we've just gone through with really good sleep, your results will be way better compared to if you do everything we just went through with shit sleep. Sleep helps you build more muscle, control hunger and cravings better, recover better, and train harder. Honestly, again, as you can tell the theme of the video, a good sleep routine doesn't have to be overcomplicated. You don't need to buy all this crazy shit that you might hear online. You need to do a 10-minute with 15 different things sleep routine. It just has to be stupid simple. I'm gonna give you a few things that's personally helped me over the years really nail my sleep. The first thing is to simply set a bedtime and a wake up time. This honestly helps you stay in routine, and I personally find it helps me fall asleep way easier. And when I do wake up, it's a lot easier and I feel a lot more refreshed because it's the same time every day and my body is so used to it. Second, try to avoid caffeine after lunchtime, ideally 8 to 10 hours before you go to sleep, because it has a long half-life, which basically means that it will stay in your system for longer periods of time, and therefore it will just disrupt your sleep a bit. And number 3 is just simply try to keep your room dark and cold. Now, if it's summer or it's hot, then just chuck a fan on, aircon, whatever. And if you can't get your room dark for whatever reason, you could try an eye mask. And that's literally it. That's all I do for sleep, and those few things just help a ton. I honestly don't think you need any of those fancy things you see, but whatever works for you. Number 5 is going to be consistency. Again, I know it sounds so simple, but if you're not consistent with the things we just went through over the weeks, months, or years, depending on how much fat you have to lose, there's no chance you're going to be able to lose body fat, and most importantly, keep it off. Now, how long it takes will be determined by how much body fat you have to begin with, how compliant you are, and also how consistent you are, and how big the deficit is that you choose to go on. To give some real life examples of this, Reese was 20 kg down and it took 6 months. Irvin was 4 kg down and it only took 4 weeks. But as you can see, he has a lot of muscle and a great foundation to begin with. And Sam lost 50 kg, but this took him a couple of years, and that's because he wasn't in a deficit for 2 years straight. He was in a deficit probably 80 to 90% that time, but he obviously had breaks where he went on holiday. He just didn't want to be in a deficit anymore. You know, he enjoyed himself, and that's totally fine. But the main thing is setting the realistic expectation of how much you have or want to lose and how long generally that's going to take. So don't set something crazy unrealistic like I want to lose 10 kilos in 4 weeks, and then week 2 goes by, you're only 2 kilos down, and then you're disheartened because you're nowhere near the goal, although 2 kg down in 2 weeks would be really good speed. To give a rough guide of what I personally really like to aim for, and I think this works very, very well, is 0.5 to 1% of your personal body weight lost every single week. So again, if I weigh 80 kilograms and I'm losing in between 400 to 800 grams on average every single week, that's a good speed to lose at. As you can see, me and Big Zeusy Boy, we really try to just simplify everything, because honestly, it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, and it doesn't have to be this like fancy thing that I see some people making it up to be. And I know what we covered there, those 5 steps, it's not the quote unquote most sexiest topics to talk about. Maybe it's not that exciting, but it is literally all you need to do to get these results, and it's what's needed. But I hope it was valuable, and if you like this video, I think you'll like this one too.